2, 1. Wait for the delay to kick in. All right, there we go. And we're live. Welcome to a special edition of the Best Damn Podcast with none other than Central Illinois broadcasting legend himself, Ray Lytle. How are you doing today?
How you doing, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. We're doing great. We wanted to also put this on the Morning Disaster Network because we know you guys haven't had a lot of content. Everybody's been busy. You got Dan and Christina with Boo Crew.
Yeah, I'm putting it out on Patreon. I'm gonna put it on a Patreon right now so everybody can see it.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah, awesome.
And
no, that's all. I'm really I'm honored to be hanging out with you guys. So it'll be fun.
And for those of you who do not who don't know or don't watch Ray Lytle, you're welcome to subscribe to him here at patreon.com/morning disaster. $5 a month gets you a pretty good amount. You get a pretty damn good amount of content. You get Cooking for the Poor, Smoke Signals, Stainless. I do the $20 amount, and I've been doing that for like what? Oh God, since you went on the air.
God bless you. God bless you. Yeah, you get all the old shows and the Daily Disaster and all that stuff. God bless you.
Yep, and we got none other than another Central Illinois legend, Sage Ramsey himself, who also, we were just talking, he inducted you into the Hall of Fame a while back.
That's right. Good old Sage. What's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I've known Sage for a long time. He's my, he was my favorite wrestler, and back when it was New Midwest Wrestling, and even with PWA now, I've been a fan of Sage's for a long time.
Right.
So yeah, he would always come in the old days of the old Morning Disaster. He'd come into the studio and hit Jimmy with a chair and all kinds of stuff. So it was fun.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you've ever seen this photo, but I saw this photo here, and it's a shocker. Check this out. That's a young Sage Ramsey.
Look at that. That's when Jimmy wore that bucket on his head. Oh, those are great days.
Yeah, that's like, gosh dang, prehistoric Sage Ramsey with hardly any tattoos. And
that's probably 2000. I bet that's 2003, 2004, maybe.
I would say that's about right.
In that new studio, it had to be 2003 or 4. So
I'm about to say it had to be, because when I started watching, Jimmy had just left the show, and it had to be 2003. So you guys were still in the new studio when I started.
Jimmy left in the summer of 2004.
Okay, so yeah, it was right before I started listening. Yeah. So first of all, I want to say congratulations on the weight loss.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who's watched you since you started your podcast up, which, by the way, first of all, cheers for getting on the Illinois Times list yet again.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Congrats to you guys. Congrats to you guys.
May the best podcast win. I see Kluge's going to join us too.
Oh, boy.
Let's
nothing else to do right now. So
say what?
I said I had nothing else to do right now. So
the man between two podcasts.
I mean, we do share custody of Kluge with Ray.
Yes, we do.
So
I like how we've always said that we share custody.
I've been trying to give him up. They just won't take him.
So if anybody goes back and watches your old episodes from when you first started up during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they go to now, they can see tremendous weight loss in the face, the shoulders, the arms, the chest. I don't want to ask how much you weigh. I'm not going to ask that.
Jason and Christina have taken old photos of me. They've taken old photos and they'll show an old clip of me compared to the new me. But no, in 2019, I almost weighed 600 pounds.
Oh my God.
I got that big. And of course my knees were bad. And so that's why, I got the opportunity to go to Fit Club. So I started doing I took advantage of a Fit Club membership, and Dr. Imhoff, he offered me a free membership. He said, just come in. We'll train you for free. And so I started going every day. And I mean, just working out at Fit Club every single day. This is like 2019. and then 2020. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, that's when Midwest Family, the owners of WMAY, which I was on at the time,
Right.
they laid me off. They laid me off, a temporary layoff, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Which is another word for they fired me. I mean, they fired me without firing me. They laid me off so that they could say they weren't gonna fire me.
Yep.
But they were firing me. They tried to lay me off. So like I went and filed for unemployment. They said, no, we're just laying him off. And the unemployment people said, well, if he's not coming into work every day, then he deserves unemployment. And they gave me unemployment, and which pissed them off because they're like, no, we were just laying him off during the pandemic. And so I went home, and that's when I started doing this show. I started doing the Morning Disaster every day, which was great because I hated talk radio. When I was doing talk radio, I was so unhappy. There's nothing fun about it. Listen, and I don't care what anybody's political beliefs are, but for example, they told me to do talk radio. And when I went to talk radio, they said I could talk about what I wanted to talk about. And what I wanted to talk about was stupid stuff. I just want to talk about stupid things and funny stuff and make jokes. And that's what I would talk about. Well, then they go, well, we want you to talk about politics. And so I went on the air, and this is so I go on and I start talking about how much I like Obama, and they go, whoa, wait a minute. What are you talking about? I said, I'm talking about politics. I said, you guys told me to talk about politics. And they said, no. We don't want you to talk about liberal. And I go, well, I'm a liberal guy. And they go, no. We want you to come from a conservative standpoint and be pro-conservative. I said, oh, God, no, I'm not pro-conservative.
So wait a minute. You go on the air on WMAY. They tell you to be political.
Well, no, I started on WMAY. I started doing talk radio. And then I got hired away from WTAX. They hired me they offered me more money to go to WTAX.
Okay.
So I go to TAX, and TAX says, we'll put you on in the afternoon to do whatever you want to do. So I started doing a comedy show. And then they got a new general manager who said, I want you to talk about politics. So I go on and I start talking about politics. And I said, I didn't want to. And he says, you have to. So I start talking about politics. And then he got really angry at me. He's like, what were you talking about? And I said, well, you wanted me to talk about politics. I remember saying stuff like, I think it's ridiculous. Why can't gay people get married? Well, I have no problem with it. Let them get married.
Right.
I have no problem. I was just going off about how I have no problem with what anybody does in their own house. It doesn't bother me because I don't live there. It doesn't matter to me what anybody does in their bedroom. I'm not in their bedroom, so I don't care. If it makes them happy, do it. And I remember this guy got very angry at that. He's like, what the hell are you talking all this liberal shit for? And I go, well, I'm liberal. And he said, you can't talk about that. I want you to talk about more pro-conservative politics. And I go, dude, I'm not conservative.
Talk about a fish out of water situation.
I know. And I told him, I said, maybe you should have asked me what my politics were before you told me to just discuss politics.
Yeah, it's like, we want you to talk politics. Okay, what's your you think the best thing would have been okay, what's your politics? If they're going to put you on a political thing and you go liberal.
The best thing would have been to just let me do what I want to do, which is just
100%, yes.
I would talk about things. I would talk some serious stuff as well as the humor. That's what I wanted to talk about. And I remember we talked about there was a girl there was an old guy that was crossing the railroad tracks with his wheelchair, and his wheelchair got stuck in the railroad tracks, and a train was coming. And the girl who lived next door to the railroad tracks lived in this trailer, and she jumped out of her house and she went and pushed the guy off the railroad tracks right before the train hit him.
Right.
And I made a big deal about it. And I got the girl a reward. I got her a shopping spree from a grocery store and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, even though it was a comedy show, we did bits like that were serious bits that helped the community. And I did local stuff. Like there were some local bits or some local things that made me mad. And I talked about it. And it didn't matter if they were conservative, liberal, any of that stuff. None of that mattered to me. What happened to this guy was he was a conservative. He was one of these MAGA type where the only thing that mattered to him were politics. And so he wanted me to talk politics. He just goes, you talk politics. And then when I started talking politics and it disagreed with what his politics were, he freaked out. And he said, okay, you're not allowed to discuss liberal politics. And I go, you told me you want me to talk politics. And then he ended up making an agreement that he just didn't want me discussing. He didn't want me discussing any subjects that had any kind of bias between liberal and conservative. Of which I said, well, you're living. This is when Barack Obama was president. I said, you're living in the wrong time. I mean, you know, at the time it was the Tea Party, and this is when Trump was just running for president. And this guy decided that he decided he wanted Trump to win. This is 2015. The guy decided he wanted Trump to win. So he ended up, this is a true story. He calls me on Christmas Day. I just started a Christmas vacation. He calls me on Christmas Day to go by his house. And I'm like, God, why would he call me to go by his house? My wife's like, I don't know, maybe he wants to give you a present or something. I go, why would he call me? That's crazy. And so I go by the guy's house and he fires me on Christmas Day.
He fired you on.
Yeah, he fired me on Christmas Day.
Merry Christmas. Here's your pink slip.
Merry Christmas, Raymond. We'll see you at the unemployment line. You couldn't wait till like after Christmas to fire someone.
No,
That's
he
dirty.
wanted to fire me on Christmas, and the whole thing is he had a whole big lecture for me about how Trump is this and that, and he's gonna. And I go, dude, I don't give a shit. I don't care.
Here's your Jelly of the Month club.
Yeah,
No kidding.
This is Christmas Day. I want to go home and be with my family. You made me drive all the way over here so you could fire me. I said, why didn't you just fire me on the phone? He said, because I wanted to have a discussion with you about, about your politics. And I go, I don't give a shit what your politics are. Why are you so concerned with what mine are? And I go, by the way, I have a contract that says you guys are going to pay me through, and I told him the month that it expired, and he goes, I know. And I go, also, now that you fired me, I'm going to go to your competitor and I'm going to go on the air there. And he goes, no, you're not. And I go,
really?
I go, what do you mean that I can't go on the air? I said, I want to go to MAY and I'm going to go on the air at MAY. And he said, no. And I said, why not? He goes, because we're going to pay you the length of your contract.
But after the contract's over, then
when the contract's over, but yeah. he said, I said, aren't you just going to give me a lump sum and to try to pay less? And he goes, no. He goes, we're going to give you a paycheck every 2 weeks. We're going to send you a paycheck, and you're not allowed to go on the air.
What the hell?
And I said, what? And he goes, you go home and we will send you a paycheck
for doing nothing.
And you'll get paid for doing nothing. And I said, okay. And so I did. I stayed home and got my paycheck until the contract ran out. And then the day the contract ran out, I signed with WMAY to go on the air there. So I know that's crazy, but that's how it works in radio. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
So it's almost like a do not compete clause deal?
Yeah, it was. Well, you got to, no compete clauses are legal.
Yeah.
They used to be around, but they were fought by, and it was actually, I'll get to politics. It was liberals in the Illinois General Assembly that fought to have no compete clauses ruled illegal in Illinois. And so that's how they got away with it. Well, So it made it illegal to have a no compete clause. No compete clause used to be if you are fired or you resign from a station, you could not go to work at another station for 6 months to a year, no matter what your depending on what your clause said. And that was without them. That was without them not paying. You know what I mean? They didn't have to pay you. They just
Right.
you had to follow the rule. And I just thought it was ridiculous because I had friends who were fired and then they couldn't work or support their family because of the no compete clause. And the no compete clause was for so many miles.
Oh,
It was you could not work at a station that was 90 miles outside your broadcast area. It would
That's
be
a hell of
stuff
a
like that.
radius.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Well, nowadays, radio stations, you can hear them for dang near, 150, 200 miles?
Yeah. Now they got these big towers where you can hear them forever.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. Like, it's usually like, and it would be like, some would be 150 miles, or it just depended on what power of the station you were on. But like I said, I had one when I was on, I had one when I was on QLZ. I had one, but then they were ruled illegal during that tenure. So I could, and I got my contract negotiated and all that stuff. But then the last contract I negotiated, they didn't even put one in. So but then they ended up making them illegal, so there was no such thing as a no compete clauses anymore. So they don't exist anymore. But then again, radio doesn't exist anymore. It's not the same thing.
Radio is dying. Everybody's going to either Sirius or podcasts. It's getting to the point where radio stations like QLZ is still stuck in 2006. I was driving from Springfield the other day for my doctor's appointment for my back, and they're still playing the same song. It's like, play something new. It's been almost 20 years. We cannot. You mean to tell me there's not been a good new song since 2008, 2009?
I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, I do feel for radio. It's a mess. In 2004, we were negotiating my contract. I was negotiating for a QLZ one more time because my contract ran out in 2005. And we were negotiating what we were going to do. And one of the things I talked about was, if I stay, I wanted to stay, do the Morning Disaster, but I wanted to do the Morning Disaster on the air for so many hours and then go to another studio, like do 3 hours live, and then go to another studio and be online only and be unedited online.
Mm-hmm.
And then do a 2-hour show a day online, and to have subscribers subscribe. And I guess I just wanted too much money, and it became a long process, and then I just didn't even want to stay there anymore. But this is 2004. We were talking about doing that, and I really wish we could have made that happen because radio's died between 2005 and now. It's a completely different ball game. I mean, it really is. It's not the same. I mean, radio is there's no fun anymore in it. It's just there's no fun. There's no when the Morning Disaster was on FM, there was an element of you never knew what we were going to do next.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist anymore.
That ain't no shit.
Yeah.
I listened to it all the fucking time.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes even whenever I was working, I would show up at locations if there was locations, and just to witness what they were fucking doing because it was fucking nuts.
I would literally get up at 5 a.m. because this is when I started listening back when I was in college. Go do a paper route, drive to school, drinking coffee, listening to Morning Disaster, And there were times I wouldn't even go to my first hour of class because I just wanted to sit here and listen. What in the fuck are they doing? What did Marvin do? Marvin spent how much money on 2 jet skis? What?
I like how you still act like you went to college, but still.
hey, I did. It's community college, but come on.
but still, like with the morning disaster thing and Ray going to WMAY, still like WMAY, that's still one of the stations that's always on in my truck all the time.
Yeah.
Just because I love the fact that their music is so diversified. They always play something different each day. You don't always hear the same thing. They play 80s, 90s.
MAY now has they run the lake, right? Is that what they're?
Yeah, I think they run the lake now. Yeah,
yeah,
the lake on MAY. And then where's the talk? Where was MAY talk? Where did they go?
I don't know.
I think they went. I don't know where they went. I think they got rid of it. I'm not
Well,
sure.
no, I know it's all conservative. It's all conservative talk now, but it's on. They moved it off of 970 AM. I don't know where it is now, but yeah, they did something. But now you can't. And now Jim Leach is off.
Yeah,
so I don't even
Jim
know if
Leach
they have,
went off. That's interesting. They took him off.
I don't know if they have local people anymore.
I don't know. Well, and it's kind of
they do in like the afternoons. They have some local people, like one of my friends, Amanda, that used to work at Maui's Q. She's on there in the afternoons. I don't think she uses her real name, but still she does.
Is she on the lake or on the talk station?
She's on the lake.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. The lake is the lake's. I'll listen to the lake. I think the lakes. I listen to it on 102.5 FM, but I know it's on 970 AM too. So, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, and as soon as QLZ they switched call numbers, I stopped listening to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never understood. QLZ's on 97.7 now.
Yeah, they went on 97.7 like back 2 or 3 years ago. It used to be 92.7, then like 2 or 3 years ago they went to 92.7. Now it's like a country Christian rock station, and I didn't even know about it. So one day I'm driving to work 5 a.m. I turn on QLZ and it's, oh Lord Jesus, pray for the horses. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? This ain't QLZ.
It's crazy, man. I don't know. It's a lot of stuff's changed. When I was there, we were on 92.7 and we were just having fun.
You were. And if anybody,
it was so good, dude. Jason Wilhite, who's one of our cast members, we were just talking about this not so long ago, and he brought it up. The tragedy of 911.
Yeah.
9/11. Yeah, that came up. And you stayed in studio and covered that.
Oh, yeah. That was
damn near all day long.
You know, we were talking about it. We talked about it on 9/11 about how that all came about. And it was weird. Like, I just felt like, okay, I'm not ready to go home yet. So we just stayed on the air. And I think I was on till 5 or 6 that afternoon.
Yeah,
I listened to it all day while I was working at the time.
It was crazy.
Your coverage of that was so informative and so well done. I cannot believe out of all the other radio stations and news stations that you guys stayed on air that long and did so well of keeping us informed.
Yeah, and credit to that. That was when Tom Kushak ran the building, and Kushak let us do what we wanted to do. He never questioned anything. He would just say, have fun. And well, of course he didn't say have fun on that day. He said, thank you. He said, thanks for staying on, because none of the other shows that we ran on QLZ could do what we did. He said the only other thing we were thinking of, we were going to simulcast at WMAY. But we stayed on and just and that was me and John Lamb stayed on with us, and because we were syndicated at the time, and we were live on QLZ and we were live on Rock 106 in Peoria until they took us off to play music, which I never understood, and Bloomington took us off to play music, which, by the way, I'm like, my God, stay live, but they took us out to play music. And meanwhile, on QLZ, on QLZ, they were just like, we're not ready to just play music yet. So we just kept talking and going live and basically telling everybody, listen, it's all going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Let's just remind you what happened and how it all, how it all went down. It was just, it was such a weird day. It was a very, very strange day.
And the weirdest thing about that day is you're talking about a show that went from mostly comedy, with comedians on it, to suddenly professional newscasters, news reporters.
Oh, and all the guys in the show, like
moment.
The guys who were my comedy writers, my producer at the time was Brando, and Rich was a comedy writer, and all those guys immediately went from comedy to straight-laced news reporters. Reporting different news that they would get off of. They were working the AP machine. They were running down to MAY and they were getting stuff that they were receiving. MAY would have a guest come in, and so they would have their guests sitting in a green room waiting to go on the air with them. And my guys would go down and steal the people. And they say, hey, listen, I know you're not going to be on MAY for half an hour. Why don't you come down and jump on the air with QLZ? And they said, okay. And so they go on the air with us for a while, and then they go on. It was one of those days. It's unlike any other day we've ever had. So,
right.
And it was a different day than we had ever had before. So we made it a different broadcast than we had ever had. And I'm proud. I take pride in that. So
you guys were almost in that studio for 12 hours, if not a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we were there for over 12 hours, 12 or 13 hours.
And if anybody deserves an award in broadcast excellency, it's definitely you guys for that day.
Yeah, we got nothing for it, but it was really cool to have done it. It was cool to have done it, and I didn't regret any of it.
So we got a listener, Comic Geddon. He's commenting saying, I stopped listening to QLZ when they started broadcasting free beer and hot wings, which I agree. That's when I stopped listening to it. I thought it was the dumbest thing because their competitor in Decatur broadcast them too. He also goes on to say the Morning Freak Show, which aired when you left, was pretty good, but then it went downhill less than a year later. And you can't really blame the Morning Freak Show. Those were big shoes to fill.
Yeah, and the Freak Show was Mikey, Dog,
Bodine,
Mikey, Dog, Bodine, Sean, and Val. It was
Valerie.
Val.
Yeah. They tried their best with that one, but it's like I said, big shoes.
Even they, and when they were going to take over for me, they were like, they knew it was going to be tough, and then also they, the people at the top put down rules. You guys got to get so many songs in per hour. Like when I was on, there was no song limit. Like we didn't have a limit of songs that we were supposed to play.
Right.
They said, just if you want to play music, play it. If not, don't. And then when they went on the air, they told them, hey, you guys have to play so much music per hour. So for them, they were sort of handcuffed. You know what I mean?
They really were.
Mikey, Dog, Sean, Bodine, they're funny. They're really funny people. But how are you going to develop your own personality when you're playing under those rules? You know, they're doing that while they still had to play like 10 songs an hour or something. So yeah, I felt for them. And then they were replaced by what did they do? They put on
the Stone Age.
Yeah, they put Ben on.
Yeah. And
then they fired him. They put him on, never gave him a shot. They fired him. And then they went with Free Beer and Hot Wings.
Yeah, which after Free Beer and Hot Wings came on, I heard that show. I'm like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't stand Free Beer and Hot Wings, and I can't stand what's the other one? Bob and Tom. Those two shows are just boring. It's like with Morning Disaster, you had something special to listen to when it was on, and you had the best of the best. Now you don't want anything else. You just want that back. And then after QLZ, after you left QLZ, you went to disasterradio.net.
Yeah, did Disaster. I went to the internet.
Yeah.
And had a good time. And then, And then we were doing disasterradio.net, and we had a shitload of listeners on the internet. But here was the problem. This was 2006, 2007. The internet cost a lot of money.
Oh, yes.
To put shows on. So it just cost us so much money. It cost so much money to do it that and then in order to play music, you had to pay all the licensing fees. And you had to pay you also had to pay to just broadcast. The biggest problem we had is we had too many listeners. Because sending out the signal, it's not like today. Like you said, you could send this signal out and as many people that want to listen could listen. You could have, hundreds of listeners and it still costs nothing. Like I think for the Morning Disaster now, my StreamYard is $40 some odd a month.
Yeah.
And it covers, unlimited amount of listeners. We can, who knows how many, you can have so many hundred listeners. But back then, if you get above 25 and 50 listeners and 100 listeners, every single notch, it goes up. And so just the internet space to send out IP radio stuff, disaster radio stuff in 2006 was, it was hundreds and thousands of dollars a month, where we'd be like, oh my God, we had 1,000 some odd listeners this month. And then we had to pay the bill for it. And it sucked up all the money because the internet wasn't ready for it. It wasn't ready for it. I mean, think about it. Back then, mobile phones didn't have unlimited internet.
Oh yeah. You get dinged. Yeah. The only way you would be able to make a phone call without paying a huge bill is if you talk to somebody, like let's say you had AT&T, you called or texted somebody who had AT&T. If it was Sprint or anybody like that, no, you got dinged a lot of money for that.
And there was a bunch of people who would listen on their desktop, and that's how they heard it. And then we started to have some phones would pick it up. But it was all brand new. It wasn't in the cars and stuff. Now it's like you go live and you go live and everybody can get it on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people probably watch on their phone now. I think some people still use desktops, but I think most of it's phone,
tablet, desktop. Yeah.
Laptops.
But times have really changed.
Times have. That show, MorningDisaster.net was really something that it would have taken off in this day and age.
Yeah.
But back then, because of the restrictions of the technology and the times, it unfortunately bottled it down.
Well, the other thing that we did on MorningDisaster.net is there wasn't rules. Like we would play the Jenny game live, which is when we'd have because it's sort of the similar thing that we do now with the boxes and us broadcasting, but yet we would have a box that would just be a sexy girl, and we would guess whether or not she's wearing a thong or full back or no panties.
I remember participating in those. Yep.
And then we would have the girl drop her pants to show us, or lift her skirt, depending on what they were wearing.
Oh, I remember that.
And we would get away with it because there wasn't rules about that. We would have girls show their tits all the time, And it was fun. It was just stupid fun. There was nothing, at least I hope not. There was nothing offensive, but there wasn't the rules police telling us you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, we still get YouTube will still bounce us every once in a while.
Oh yeah, we get that too. We just got done with that actually.
We had to fight YouTube because of we put up a picture of Steve naked. And
first of all, nobody wants to see that. Why would you subscribe to MorningDisaster.net?
It was on a subscriber show, and they zonked us.
Yeah.
And then so we had to put. I think Jason might have been the one that put the appeal in, and the appeal was
I fought it.
See anything? So they actually go through the appeal process, and they went through the appeal process, and they said, "Oh my God, you're right. We can't see anything."
Oh my
Because Steve's gut covered his penis, so you couldn't see anything.
Jennifer,
dropping our ban.
I'm gonna need that picture, Jennifer.
You don't. Tom is in the chat room. Just the nightmares. I remember that because I was at work and I got 2 notifications from More Disaster. I'm like, what the hell? They get taken off YouTube? And we just went through that because obviously Sage, myself, and Jason were. It's not your fault. They changed it. We're legal gun owners, and YouTube changed your live stream rules to where you can't show a firearm on screen.
Oh, really? You can't have a gun on screen now?
You can't. Yeah, and they were displaying. It was a paintball gun. That's don't show it, Sage.
It's not a paintball gun.
Don't show it.
I'm not going to show it.
It's a defense.
It's a Berna. It's a self-defense weapon, and it shoots what looks like paintballs, but these balls will knock you on your ass from 250 feet away.
They're like rubber balls. They can fire mace rounds, stuff like that. It's for self-defense. But Facebook,
I didn't know you couldn't show guns on. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, Ted Nugent can, but we can't.
So next time you're bragging about your weight loss, and going to the gym, do not give a gun show right there. You might get banned for that.
Don't do that.
So,
no gun shows.
Yep. So I do have a question. Getting back around as we got off topic, we mentioned your weight loss area. You've been through a lot. How much weight would you say you have lost between 2020 and now? Because it has to be a lot of weight.
Like I said, I got to go back to 2019. 2019, I was almost 600 pounds.
Right.
Now I'm 300 and I think I'm around 380.
Damn, in that short time. Hey, congratulations. Keep going.
I mean, it's a lot to lose. I've lost 200 and some odd pounds. So
that's a person.
Yeah, and it's but I'm still fat as a house. You know what I mean?
No, you're not that fat.
Well, you have all the excess skin from the.
Yeah, and now my skin's getting really scraggly.
You're gonna have to get that skin removed, aren't you?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah. What's that? With everything you went through the surgeries, that'll be like that's a cakewalk. I'll just sit here and broadcast while I'm doing that.
Yeah, the surgeries. This last surgery was a pain because I got a hematoma, which I've never had a hematoma before, and the hematoma really messed me up.
I had a teacher named Toma.
Shut up, Sage.
His first name was Steve. It wasn't Hema.
So you got hematoma.
I had a Mr. Toma right in my gut.
Okay, that doesn't sound good.
No,
it was the size. It was the size of a football.
Holy shit!
And so now it's draining and all that stuff. So it's still got some ways to go. But it went from a football. It's down to like a golf ball now. It feels like there's a golf ball in my gut, and it's still draining. But at least they cleared me to work out. I've been working out, and I went yesterday and today, and I do feel a lot better getting to work out again. It was just, I was being driven crazy just staying home.
I'll bet.
And I still can't eat salad. Like I love my salads. And
I love salads.
Now I can't eat it. And they're just like, no, you can't eat. You got to wait a while before you can eat salad. I've tried. And every time I eat a salad, I just get sick. So I'll be a lot better off when I can get back to eating salads. And, like today, here's what I've eaten today. I've had I had scrambled eggs this morning. I had chicken soup for lunch. And then I've had like 3 protein drinks.
That sounds good.
Well, yeah, but it's, I see Big D is saying salad is for sissies.
Salad is for sissies.
But I love salad.
He's gone through the same surgery too, hasn't he?
Yeah, his is a little different, but basically the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know we got off subject a little bit there. I just wanted to go back because that's amazing. I got something for you. I got a challenge for you.
All right.
I weigh 240. I would love to hear the day when you say you weigh less than me.
I'd love to.
When you can call me a fat ass, I want to hear that day.
One of the biggest reasons I started this is because my knees. You got to remember, I was 40 years old, 30 some odd years old and 400 pounds, and I was playing basketball.
Uh-huh.
I would go play basketball every night. And when you're over 400 pounds, you should not play basketball.
Whew.
And I destroyed my knees. So I couldn't walk. In fact, in 2020, late 2020, I hit it, but late 2020, 21, I was in a wheelchair because my knees just wouldn't work.
I remember that, yeah, because
Yeah.
Kluge asked me if I can go steal a wheelchair from Paziment because Paziment doesn't really pay attention. I was about tempted to. I was like, yeah, I'll go get you a wheelchair. Yeah, just no, he got a wheelchair. Never mind.
I mean, eventually the knee doctor prescribed me a wheelchair, and so insurance got me a really nice wheelchair. In fact, I still have it. I'm going to give it away to somebody, I think.
Right.
Or maybe give it to Steve. But it sucked. It sucked. But like when I went, like I had court, Jason is the one who went with us to push me around because, I couldn't go to court without help, which is crazy.
And here's what was really bad was that the wheelchair was too wide to get through the door.
Yeah, that's right.
Really? Holy shit.
Yeah. So I had to stand up, and like one of the deputies
stand and get through the doorway for me to get the wheelchair in.
Yeah, one of the deputies, the guys working there, he came out and he grabbed onto me and let me lean on him. While Jason put the wheelchair through the door. He put the chair to, I got out and he squeezed it together and
pulled the seat up and then
and then the guy put me down in the chair, and then Jason had to push me to the courtroom, which is I know it's nuts, but that's the kind of bullshit you have to go through with a wheelchair,
And so, since with the weight loss you've been going through, have your knees been doing better? Have they been performing better?
Yeah, I got out of the wheelchair last year, so I was able to walk.
Good deal.
And when you work out, as much as I have, the weight loss started coming, and I was able, my knees. Trust me, my knees still hurt. Like my knees hurt now. I'm sitting here talking, and my knees are hurting, and I still can't I still can't walk my dog without my knees hurting. And there are things like that are just a pain in the ass, but, and I have to get down to, they want me down around 200 before they can give me they got to give me new knees.
Right.
And my right knee is going to start first. I got to get them both done, which I know some people just got to get one done, but no, my knees are so bad, they've got to do them both. So the plan is to get me down to 200 and do my right knee. And then after my right knee, I'll go 6 months with it. And they want to give me my left knee 6 months later. So, but I guess the rehab time for knees is really a pain in the ass. And
I think it is, because I think the knee is like one of the most complex pieces they can replace on the human body. But you'll feel so much better.
I want to get them. I definitely want to get them.
I'm saying they're not going to wait until you're down around 200. You're probably going to get them when you're about 250.
Well, I thought so too, but it's, I know this is weird, but BMI, they use BMI, and I'll be honest, BMI, if you're Mexican or black, our bodies are different, and BMI is sort of racist. I mean, I'm not going to make a big, I don't want to go off on all of it, but it is sort of, I mean, it's just the body's different, and just the way you hold weight it's weird that they set me to these standards that are almost impossible to get to.
Right.
It's almost impossible for me to get down there. So, but eventually when I get there, they'll give me my surgery. So yeah, but they want me to get to 200, which is crazy.
That seems like a crazy goal, because I was up to 460 pounds at my heaviest, and I'm down to 270 now, and I'm fucking great.
But you feel good, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I feel excellent. I just had a shoulder surgery, and I'm recovering from, and
Mhm.
I'm starting. I am starting to think like as I lose weight, my knees feel a little better with every pound I lose.
Well, yeah, because you're taking all that excess weight, all that massive weight off, and it's like lifting it up,
I was in high school when I played football, basketball, baseball in high school, and I was in my 200s then. So I'm just thinking maybe when I get down there, I'll feel good enough to where I won't feel the immediacy for the knee replacement. Because the other thing is my age. I'm still kind of young for a knee replacement. That usually goes for people in their late 60s, early 70s.
Right.
And I got a while before I'm 60. So, it's really early to give me a knee replacement. So,
well, I will tell you this, Ray, when the doctor tells you what to do after that knee replacement, you follow it to the letter, because Amanda's dad had a knee replacement done. And then I think he tried to get up like too early in getting around than he was supposed to. And next thing you knew, he was riding his motorcycle, got home, and had an aneurysm pop in his brain.
Oh, damn.
So follow what they tell you to the letter. Don't
Fucking Steve.
And like Big D's in the
jump
chat
ahead like you did recently with the weightlifting.
He says they don't like doing replacements because the shelf life is only 10 years on replacements. So they don't want to have to do several different replacements. If you give someone a replacement in their 50s, they'll have to get it replaced again in their 60s and then in their 70s and their 80s. And, they'd rather not constantly replace someone's knees because I guess it's a painful surgery and all that shit. So they don't want you to go through it. So, and I understand that.
Technology's always getting better. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they just gave what's the wrestler? Kurt Angle. He's got bad knees and a bad neck. They gave him a carbon fiber knee.
Yeah.
And he's doing just fine. So,
and my knee, I didn't have it replaced per se. But whenever I was 15, I had it surgically fixed. Meniscus, patella, all this shit. I mean, everything was fixed. I've got 13 fucking screws in the goddamn thing.
I've had so many surgeries on my knees. They fixed both meniscus and both knees and all that stuff. I mean, I've had all that stuff. But on one of my knees, I don't have anything left. I have no meniscus, no ligaments. One of my knees is just waiting for me to take one wrong step, and
just fold
in on
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to really be careful. I can't run right now. It's impossible to run.
I can't choke slam with this shoulder right now until I get through physical therapy completely, because
you have to choke slam left-handed?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
But my shoulder on my right here, that's my prominent. That's my choke slam hand.
Right.
And I had 3 completely torn off ligaments.
So the only guys you're choke slamming are the guys that can take it, like can jump and take the whole, you know what I mean?
Well, I had my surgery back in November, and it's taken almost a complete year to rehab everything.
Yeah, he's
3 ligaments were completely shredded and gone. They had to pull them all the way up from my bicep and from the outside and from the back.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
I've never had to do that. I've never had to do that. Thank God. The only thing that I've had operated on is my knees. So,
but I mean, that's almost 25 years worth of wrestling.
Yeah.
So.
Just beating up your body.
It takes a toll. It takes a toll.
I mean, I broke my neck. Hell, I could write a book on just everything I've torn up in my body.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a really good wrestler, though. I mean,
Well, I mean, 6 Hall of Fame should say that. But.
I've seen like some guys, some local wrestlers they're too big. They're just too big, and they can't get up. Like you see them go down, and it takes them so long to get up. You see the person they're wrestling do all the work to find time. You know what I mean? To change pacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to make up for that. And it just, because the thing with wrestling is, it's sort of a dance when you watch it, and when you watch guys that are really good and they're really in shape. It's like it's such the routine and is so impressive. Like they do things and the timing is accurate, but yet you see somebody, and I don't want to blast anybody, but and I know he's sick now, but Rage, Gavin Alexander, whatever, he got really big, and so he would go down, and it takes him forever to get. He's got to roll over, and then he's got to put his hands down, and then he's got to try to lift one leg up and try to get himself up, and it's just like, man, you can't take all that time getting up. Like he could still take bumps, but just couldn't get up in time, and so the matches were hard to watch.
They were, yeah.
And now I hear he's sick, and I'm praying for him. I hope he can get through it. But it sounds really bad. But I know that his weight was getting in the way with his matches and stuff. So that's just the first guy that came to mind when I was thinking of it. But I'm sure there are others who are having that problem as well. But
right.
But I gotta go to some PWA shows. I love local wrestling. I just when they put on a event, there's nothing like it.
I started my own company too, so.
Yeah, he started Prairland Independent Wrestling. Sage did. So now there's like 2 in the Springfield area. Is it just the 2? I thought there was a third one, but they closed down, didn't they?
Yeah, there's just
it's
the 2.
Pinfall, and Prairland Independent. So that's it.
Yep.
Well, let me know when you guys are gonna have a show. I wanna come watch it. I do want to.
I'll say our next show's in 4 days in Beardstown, but then we'll be back in Springfield. I think it's October 17th, I think. Let me double check
So PWO will have a show in Springfield in October?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to go watch one.
There you go.
And then
and where do you guys have yours? Where do you have yours, Rage?
Rage.
Sage.
Oh my God.
Sage,
Wow.
Sage, where do you have I was just talking about him. So
yeah.
Sage, where do you
my show, I am currently running out of kind of my hometown area, down in Verdon.
All right, yeah.
I run out of the Knights of Columbus Hall, Verdon, Illinois. Prairland Independent Wrestling, and it is on November 23rd, and it is called November Rain, which is one of the original, I guess, names of New Midwest Wrestling.
Yeah. Back in
since,
the old Rip Mystic days of.
Yeah, since
Rain
I was one of
REIGN, baby.
Yeah.
October 12th is the next PWA show in Springfield.
And Prairland is November 23rd. That's awesome. I want to go see those. That's awesome.
They're going to be awesome. Both of them. I guarantee it.
Yep.
And you have a lot of the same guys. Like you'll get guys who are friends of yours from.
Oh yeah.
Prairland.
Yeah, Prairland and PWA work together.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, we have a working relationship. So
yeah. We no hard feelings. We both work together.
Try to schedule around each other's stuff.
Yeah, I stay out of Springfield, and
we stay out of Verdon.
No, that's cool. No, I'd like to watch that. I'd like to see them.
Yeah.
And now that I can walk, it'd be a little easier for me.
Right. So the next question I have is going back to the QLZ days. Obviously you've had a slew of hosts. Even recently, you got this stellar team with like Dan, Christina, Steve, and Kluge.
Steve, you got to put Steve. And Steve's got to come first.
Oh, Steve is your
co-host. Steve, Christina, Dan, Kluge.
The things that Steve has
and
said,
Big D,
and Big D, and
for the record,
Yeah.
I agree to this match.
Oh,
you would take on
Bring
Big
it.
D. Winner gets Jen.
Bring it, as long as she agrees.
my question was going to be, I'm sorry, but Steve you call it lightning in a bottle with Steve.
Yeah, no, I love
you
Steve.
did. There is the things that man has admitted to, the things he has said.
Steve's got that special something. He's got that thing that Jimmy had that
yeah.
There are certain people that are born with a gift. And as long as they don't try to think about it too much, that gets in the way. But as long as they don't try to think about it too much and just enjoy themselves, it's magical what they can do with it. That ability to not be embarrassed.
No filter.
Yeah.
It's a no filter gift of gab.
Yeah.
He just lets it flow. Not only out of his ass, but out of his mouth.
Apparently, Jen stepped away for a minute. She's like, "What was that?" I stepped away for a moment and came back to winner gets Jen.
Yeah, sorry, Jen.
There are days I won't even watch Morning Disaster, and I know exactly what was said because Steve will jump in our show, also Stone, and mention it. And it's like, what in the fuck did he admit to today?
I met Jim the photographer.
This is what we want to know.
This is what we want to know.
Oh,
How did you bring Jim the photographer? How did you meet Jim the photographer?
In 1992, I was doing the Lytle Lamb show in Peoria.
Right.
And we had an appearance at a bar in East Peoria. And so Lamb and I go to this bar in East Peoria, and this guy shows up. This guy shows up with a camera. And he had a girlfriend who was really nice. Her name was Sadie, and he goes up to her and says, "Hey, you want to meet my black girlfriend?" And we're like, "What? You want to meet my black girlfriend?" We're like, okay. So he has his girlfriend come over, and he's like, "Hey, show him your tits, honey." And the girl's like, "I'm not showing these men." And Lamb and I are like, that's all right. We don't have to have. We don't want to see her. We don't want to see her breast. No, honey, show him your tits. Come on, honey, you got to show them to. And so he was asking his girlfriend, who he referred to as his black girlfriend, to show us her breast. And he had a camera, and he was cracking me up. I mean, I had never met anyone like this before. Jimmy was
there. He is.
Yeah, he was just so funny. And so this is not so then Lamb and I get back to the station, and John instantly did not like him. But I fell in love with him. I just loved Jimmy right from the bat. And so I would go to John. I'd say, "Hey, we got to get our picture taken for our best of," because we were putting out a best of disc.
Uh-huh.
It was actually a best of cassette and disc. It was the Lytle Lamb best of #1. So this is 1992, and I said, we got to get a picture taken for it. And I come up with this concept. I said, why don't we both get in it? We'll go to the girls' bathroom where they have those two stalls next to each other, and both of us sit on the toilet, and we just get that picture. And Lamb's like, that's a great idea. And I said, who are we going to get? I said, we got to get a professional photographer. Let's call that dude that we met at the bar, that Jim guy, that guy. And we didn't get his whole name. But we did get Jim. And so he left us when we were at the bar. He said, "Hey, here's my phone number. If you ever need some professional pictures done, or if you want me to bring Sadie by to show you her tits." And so I called the number, and I'm like, "Hey, can you come take a picture for us? We need a picture taken for our best of." And he goes, "Hey, no problem." So at this point, we thought he was a professional photographer. We had no idea he wasn't a professional.
He wasn't a professional photographer.
No, he was a guy who worked at Caterpillar.
So wait, he worked at Caterpillar. Why was his name Jim the photographer? That was just his nickname.
No, I named him Jim the photographer.
Oh, you named him? Okay.
Yeah, because he had a camera. He had this camera, and he'd walk around with this camera. So I assume, so he shows up with the camera, and he takes the picture. And then he goes and develops the picture and he shows them to us. And I said, this is great. This would be a great cover. And that's what we use for the cover of our best of. And then he goes, anything else I could do for you guys? If there's ever anything I could do, just give me a call. And he goes, I have a cell phone. And he shows me his cell phone. This is 1992.
Right.
Not a lot of people had cell phones in 1992.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it was hard to find them then.
And those were the old big brick ones too that were like massive.
People were still dealing with bag phones back then.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my mother had a bag phone.
So Lamb and I would be doing a show. So we're doing a show on the next day, and I go, you know what would be funny? And Burger King had some new breakfast thing up. And I said, it would be funny if we would send someone through the drive-thru. If we could send someone through their drive-thru. The whole story was about somebody went through a drive-thru naked in somewhere in Illinois, right? They went through a drive-thru naked, and the police were called. And I said, I bet we can get away with that in Peoria. And Lamb goes, what? You can't go through a drive-thru naked. I go, let's send somebody through a drive-thru naked. And he goes, who are we going to send through? I said, where's that phone number of that photographer? So I called him and I said, what are you doing? Hey, what's going on, Lytle? And I said, hey, will you go through the drive-thru naked? He goes, you want just me, or should I bring Sadie and have her go through and show her tit? I go, no, just you go through the drive-thru. And so he goes, all right. And so he calls us on his cell phone, and Lamb and I are live, and he's like, hey, this is Jim. And I go, and I was like, call that Jim the photographer guy. And so he goes, hey, this is Jim, and I want a bagels, a breakfast bagel or something. They were debuting a breakfast bagel at Burger King. So he goes through and he's naked. And that was the first bit he ever did, was he goes through Burger King naked, and he talks to the people. And I said, and so while he's going through, I'm like, hey, ask them this. And he starts asking them, and I go, hey, ask them this. And he does whatever. And I'm just like, holy shit, this guy's doing whatever I say. So I loved him. I was like, and then after the show, I go to Lamb and I go, how about that guy going to the drive-thru? And he goes, yeah, that guy was pretty funny. And I go, right? I said, he did whatever the hell I asked. There was no question or anything. He just went through with it. And so we used him. Then like the next day we're doing something. I said, hey, call Jim the photographer. And so we would just call Jim and he would show up and do stuff. That's literally how we started using him, was just asking him to do something and he would agree to do it. Like one time we had him, he had to fillet the snowman. He had to, you name it, just stupid stuff. He would just go do it. And we put it up. We used to have Pete and Buddha. And Pete and Buddha would do all of our on the street stuff. They had the station cell phone. They would go do it, but we didn't have just a listener until we found Jimmy, and Pete got a job in. Pete ended up getting a job in Rockford, and my cousin Buddha, he had to go back to school, so he went to Illinois State or wherever the hell he went to school, and so both of them left, and we didn't have any kind of street presence. So we went from doing Pete on the street to doing Jim the photographer, who was doing mobile unit bits. And Jimmy was great. I fell in love with him. He just cracked me up. He drove John Lamb crazy. John
Lamb was also, if I recall, not the only one he drove crazy. There was like,
oh yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, there were several people he drove crazy. Yeah, but I'm seriously, Lamb could write great bits though, where he'd go, you know what else we should do is he would say, all right, we should do this, this, this. And he'd go, oh, and Ray, you could use that Jim the photographer guy to do blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh my God, what a great fucking idea. And we would call Jimmy and say, hey, let's do that. He'd go, hey, no problem. And there was no questions asked. And he would just do stuff. So he hung around with us and he started coming by every single day to be on the air with us. That's how he got well known, was just showing up on the show. And the next thing you know, we were making appearances and I had a band called the Snappers and he would show up for the Snappers, and he ingratiated himself, or he embedded himself into our show to where we couldn't do the show without him.
Right.
Because he became so important to us. And,
I can't remember what location or what it was where Jimmy the photographer, or Jim the photographer, was at, to where he was wearing like this Speedo thong thing. And I don't know if he had something stuffed or whether that was the size of his whatever the fuck. And he saw me and I was walking up and I had a championship belt with me or whatever the fuck. I just come up by to see y'all and show you, hey, look, I just won a championship. This motherfucker runs up, jumps up on me, and he's like mounting my fucking leg. And nothing but a fucking Speedo thong. I'm just like, oh my God, somebody get him off of me.
I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. The worst memory and best memory of Jim can be explained in Christmas when we were collecting toys.
Oh no!
We were collecting toys for needy children, and Jimmy had to dress like an elf and distribute toys. So he would go to different people, would bring us toys or donate cash, and we would go shop for toys. And then we had all the toys, and so people would go, Jimmy would go and distribute them dressed as an elf. And this was 1994. We were syndicated at the time, and Jim thought it was a good idea to ask women for blowjobs in exchange for Tickle Me Elmo.
Elmos.
So the Tickle Me Elmo was how every year there's always some
Right.
present that everybody's nuts for. And this was Tickle Me Elmo was the prize. Tickle Me Elmo was the big thing that everybody wanted. And so we got donated a bunch of Tickle Me Elmos. And so we told Jimmy to distribute them to poor people. And so he would go out, and then we found out that he was only giving the Tickle Me Elmos to women who
were pleasuring him.
who had pleasured him. So he had this van, and he would take the women out to his van, and he would lay down, and they'd blow him. And then he'd say, now you're going to get a Tickle Me. You're lucky kids getting a Tickle Me Elmo.
That was 96.
Well, was it 96?
Tickle Me Elmo came out in 96.
Go back, check what 94 was. 94 was, I want to see what the give, because I can't remember. I know it was 1994, and I can't remember what, maybe it was.
Yes, Skeletor, this is a real story, Jim.
Yeah, this is real. This is real. But whatever it was in 94, he would exchange the toy, and he would only give it to women who would pleasure him in his van. And mind you, it was not one of the women who got the toy, but there was a woman who showed up wanting to get her kids toys. And Jimmy decided she wasn't hot enough.
Oh no!
So he bypassed her. She wrote a note to our bosses.
Oh, this was during Lytle and Lamb, or
this is during the Lytle and Lamb years.
Wow.
Cabbage Patch Kids. Maybe it was a Cabbage Patch Kid. Whatever it was. Whatever it was.
No.
Hold on. He told the woman that no, she couldn't get one, and she wrote a note. She wrote a letter, and Jim got oh my God. our bosses got so pissed off.
So go ahead.
They got so angry at Jim. Oh my God. That they banned him from the building and everything. It was really bad. And Lamb and I loved him. You know, we wanted him to still be on the show, even though he wasn't allowed in the building. So we would make him broadcast. He would broadcast outside our window using his cell phone. And then we stuck a microphone out the window that he would use. But yeah, it was crazy. And this was 94. He was when he got in trouble for that. And it was because he would talk the women into pleasuring him in his van.
Can you imagine sitting there at the bar? You're trying to find a tickle me elbow for like your 2-year-old daughter, and this guy walks up dressed as an elf. Hey, how much you want that tickle me elbow? Now?
And he
how
goes,
bad
hey,
do you want it?
if you come out to my van with me, I'll give you a tickle me elbow. And so he would go into his van, lay
we
down.
could work something out.
He would lay down. The women would pleasure him, and then he'd give them a tickle me elbow. So, I mean, it was nuts, which was crazy. But by the way, hats off to Jimmy. He was doing this several times a night.
Oh my God, the stamina that man had.
Yeah, good Lord.
It might have actually been the first run of Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah, so
It probably was.
I sort of remember Tickle Me Elmo and all this.
From what it's saying, it might have actually been the first run.
So
multiple times. Holy shit.
Yeah, so he would go out and he'd do one remote, and women would you know, like I said, he would do it several times a night.
Oh, the stamina that man had.
Which was really quite impressive.
Yeah.
Or Cabbage Patch Dolls.
Yeah. So all I know is that he ended up well, I ended up in spring of 95, I left because I had a disagreement. We were syndicated, so we were live in Peoria and Springfield, and the guy who ran the network lived in Peoria. It was the guy who ran the station in Peoria, and he was cheap, and he and we were other radio stations from around the state of Illinois started calling, saying, hey, how do I get this Lytle and Lamb show on my station? And he liked Springfield because the Peoria station was a 50,000 watt station.
Right.
And so Springfield put a special antenna. They put a special antenna on top of the building to where they could end up hearing the feed from Peoria. So they would take the feed from Peoria, and that's how they syndicated us. But then a station from Champaign and Terre Haute, Indiana, they ended up calling, and they said, and there was Champaign, Danville, and Terre Haute, and they wanted to put the show on the air. And so they called the guy from Peoria, and they said, how do we get the show? We'll pay for it. And in order to make us available to do that, he'd have to put out syndication. He'd have to actually put us on a satellite. And so there was an initial fee of, I think it was going to be $25,000 or something to put us up on a satellite.
Right.
And then once we went up there, anybody could get it. And then they'd pay like 50 grand or whatever it would cost. They would pay to our company to syndicate the show. And Springfield paid it. And so Peoria paid no money to syndicate us, and Springfield paid them. And by the way, he just gave Lamb and I a little bit of money for it. He didn't give us a shitload of money, even though they were paying him like 50 grand. He only gave us I think I got a $10,000 raise or something. Lamb got like a $6,000 or $7,000 raise. So that was less than $20,000 that he paid, but he was making 50. So he kept $30,000. And so in 1995, Lamb and I go.
Did he even produce?
Did what?
Did he even produce it?
He owned the station we were on.
He just owned it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we got calls from the station in Champaign and we got a call from the station in Terre Haute and a call from the station in Danville, right? So Lamb and I go to Champaign to talk to them. And so we go talk to the guy, and he wants to know what we do. And so we just give him our thoughts and ideas, and they go, fuck, we want this. And so they call the guy, and the guy says, it's going to cost too much money. And they said, well, we're all going to pay $50,000. So he goes, you'd get an extra $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, $150,000. He goes, what do you pay Lytle and Lamb for syndication? He goes, that's none of your business. But like I said, I was getting an extra 10 grand a station, but I didn't, and John was getting so much a station, but I didn't know what he was charging them. So they would have brought in $150,000, but rather than buy the pay the $25,000 to put the show up on the satellite, he just decided no, that wouldn't be enough profit, so he wouldn't do it. So I remember having a meeting with the guy and saying, hey, you've got to syndicate us. And he goes, what happens if I don't? I said, well, then I'm going to leave. He goes, well, you've got to syndicate us. And I said, no, I don't. And he says, you've got to stay to be syndicated. I said, no. He said, I'll leave right now and go to a bigger city. And so I ended up getting a job offer from New York, and I left. And so that's why I left in 1995, because the guy would not syndicate us. And so John was stuck doing the show, and he called it Lamb and Company or something. And I went out to New York. And then my brother Rob got sick in 96. And I had to come home. I'm reading what Big D says.
You were giving Jim the photographer shit for a tickle me elbow, but you were doing this. What would you do? I'll eat 2 pounds of raw hamburger meat.
That's the shit they did. But
and yes,
but that's less illegal than saying, "Oh, hey, give me sexual favors."
Yeah, that's more. You know, you're not soliciting yourself. You're just eating raw hamburger.
So I was in New York, and I had to come home, and so I thought I was going to go back to Peoria, but that didn't happen. And so I just picked up the phone and I called Tom Kusiak, who owned WQLZ at the time. And I called Tom and I said, hey, listen, we're in New York, but we got to come home. And he goes, what's up? And I said, I got a sick family member and we want to move home. My brother lived in Gillespie. And so hats off to Tom Kusiak. Tom Kusiak said, come on home, I got you. And he said, he goes, if they're not going to put you on in Peoria to take over the Lytle and Lamb show again, then I'm going to put you on just in Springfield. And you can just do the Ray Lytle show here in Springfield. And he said, would you do that? And I said, yeah, I'd do that. And he goes, what would it take? I said, there's a guy on the Lamb show called Jim the Photographer. I said, if you can get Jim the Photographer signed to a deal, I'll be there. And he signed Jimmy that day.
Wow.
And I said, I'll be in town tomorrow. So I left Springfield, I left Syracuse, New York on Friday afternoon or something. And I got to town Saturday night. And then I met, Jimmy was there already. And then I met Rocky, who was the guy doing overnights. And I said, I want him as my producer. And we put together a show and we were able to go live Monday morning. And Kusiak ended the simulcast with Peoria.
Mm-hmm.
He ended it and we started the Morning Disaster that Monday. It wasn't called the Morning Disaster, but we started the show. So that's how the Morning Disaster got started in just Springfield.
Where is Rocky at? He was on your podcast for a while, but then
he ended up, he got a job. He's working.
I liked Rocky. Rocky was funny.
Rocky was great. But Bert, you got to remember in 2020, everybody lost their jobs, including Rocky. Yeah. He lost his job, so he was collecting unemployment, and he stayed home. And he broadcast with me doing the Morning Disaster. And, Doran she was a hairstylist and they had to
Yeah.
close the salon. She had nothing to do. So she did the show and Nikki and, so we did the show every morning.
How did you meet all these people? Did it just like say, hey,
Well,
need help with
they were
podcasts,
they
or-
were on the Morning Disaster. They
so
were
you went through mostly Morning Disaster alumni.
Yeah, they were on the Morning Disaster at one point. Nikki
Right.
was an intern on the Morning Disaster who always made me laugh. So that's how I had her. Rocky was my producer in 96 through 98. And so I knew he was good. And Doran, when Michelle the Weather Babe left, Doran took over for Michelle.
Right.
So, I'd known Doran. She was also my hairstylist. And, so that's why they ended up, when I went to Just Online in 2020, nobody, we weren't working then because of the pandemic. So everybody was able to, to do the show with me. And then eventually everybody started getting jobs. Like Doran's, her hair place opened again. And so she had to go back to work. And then Rocky got a job and he had to go back to work. And then I decided, okay, I've got to get, and then we had a guy named Nick. And he was on with us. And then we had a listener named Steve. Steve would come in, he would just listen to us, but he made me laugh with some of his comments. So
Lightning in a bottle.
So I asked Steve to join the show. And then right after he joined the show, he had to end up going to the hospital because of his foot.
I remember this.
And he would be live in the hospital.
Yeah, he did.
And on morphine.
Which was some of his best work.
Yeah. And we would call him Morphine Steve.
Yeah.
He started doing the show with us. So that's how Steve joined the show. And it was really fun.
Like I wanted to join in on that so bad.
I'm telling you, man, it was the start of the Morning Disaster shows were some of the best times ever.
So what would you say was between the three? Because I think out of the Morning Disasters history, the three best comedians, the three best comedic relief would be Jim the photographer, Marvin, and Steve. This could be a tough question. This could be a tough question to ask, but out of those three, which one would you say is the one? If they said, "All right, you got one day to broadcast with this person," who would you?
Oh, I'd pick all three, dude.
You pick all three?
Oh, fuck.
It's a hard choice. It is. It's a hard choice.
I would love. See, Marvin and Jimmy did not get along.
No, you could tell from some of the bits you released, they did not get along.
Marvin doesn't get along with Steve either. So Marvin
I don't think Marvin's ever met Steve.
No, he never has, but he doesn't get along. Marvin has trouble getting along with people. But Marvin's just so fun. I mean, Marvin is so funny, but it's a different kind of funny from what Steve and Jimmy. I would say Steve and Jimmy are more similar to each other just because they have that they both have that ability to do anything. No questions asked. Just do it. And there's no embarrassment. Like Jim would say, "Hey, you're only embarrassed if you accept embarrassment. And even though I got shit on, I refuse to accept embarrassment." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Steve's sort of the same way. Steve is just sort of like he holds nothing back. I mean, you've heard the stuff he's admitted.
Yes, I've heard quite a bit. Like what there's also stuff he's admitted that somehow it leaks into our show.
Yeah. He just admits things. He's got that gift. He's just funny. But Marvin
is a Martian from a different planet. Plain and simple.
Yeah, Marvin is brilliant. I gotta tell you, he's brilliant, so but he's wild. And Marvin always puts Marvin first.
You're not wrong there.
Where Steve and Jimmy put Ray first.
That's true. That is a good.
But,
that is
but
good.
like I said, I have no animosity towards him. I love Marvin.
Oh, Marvin,
I think
always
Marvin
makes me
is
laugh.
hysterical. But there's never been a time where Marvin goes, I've got to do this to make Ray's show better. Marvin's like,
Skeletor, it would take a whole separate show to go over everything that Steve has
somebody's
admitted
good.
to on air.
Somebody's going to need to write a book about everything Steve Stanton has admitted to, and God help that person.
There needs to be a book about this whole the Ray
There
Lytle
should.
morning disaster book.
There should.
dude, there are so many stories. There are so many stories.
It probably needs to be a 2-part book or a fucking graphic novel that is probably this fucking wide.
I can't even, I could just start telling stories and it'd be like a 12-day broadcast because they're just nonstop. But Steve and Jimmy had that gift of they'd give, and to this day, Steve would give his life for the show. And Jimmy was the same way. Jimmy would sacrifice himself if it meant for the good of the show.
Right.
He sacrificed his asshole.
Yeah, he just.
Oh, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but what they're talking about is it was like what 2004.
Yeah, it was 2004.
Jim, the photographer, he used to shoot bottle rocket. I think somebody in the chat said they used to watch him do that. But Jim, the photographer, would shoot bottle rockets out of his ass, which, god damn, that's ballsy.
He would put a thing in his ass. All right, he would stick it up his asshole, and then they would put bottle rockets in and light them, and they would fire out of his assholes. And they'd fire. They would fire out of his asshole. But there was one time before a concert, he decides to show up. So he shows up at the concert.
Right.
And one of the guys in the band, and it wasn't even a morning disaster broadcast. It was on QLZ afternoon show. One of the guys put a firework in backwards.
That's dirty.
And lit it so it shot up his ass and it blew up his ass. And that was this guy. I can't remember the name of the band.
It was Adam Ship.
Yeah. So what was Adam Ship?
I think it was Adam Ship was the band because you put that out as one of your classes.
It was an entire. It was like 3 different bands. It was like 3 or 4 actually. Adam Ship. So
that's what
Mile Empty Soul.
That's what blew his ass up.
Dust.
Was the firework blew up his asshole. And like I said, I wasn't even there, but I ended up going to the hospital because he had to have surgery. They had to fix his asshole. And so what he wanted to do was he tried to get disability insurance, or he wanted to get disability from QLZ.
Uh-huh.
And QLZ argued, no, you weren't working. That wasn't a morning disaster broadcast. You just showed up on your own. And when you did it, you were supposed to own, and we had an agreement with QLZ that said Jimmy can shoot his fireworks out of his ass, but it always had to be Bodine or somebody with the station would be lighting the fireworks. And Jimmy did it a bunch of times without any problems. And then he decided to let those guys from the band do it. And look what they did. They put one in backwards and it almost killed him.
Which is heinous because it's like if you're going to do it, as somebody who's done stunts for a podcast before, if you feel uncomfortable with it, then you back out. You're like, no, we're not doing this. And you can ask Sage. But to sit there and, do a stunt you've done thousands and thousands of times over and have a member of a band or just some random person who does it with that intent. No, screw that.
Yeah, and Jimmy could take a lot. Jimmy could like we would have Sage come in and Sage would hit him with a metal chair. He would give Jimmy chair shots. But he knew in the preface to do it on the air, Sage would go, how hard can you know what I mean? He and Jimmy would have a conversation where he'd say, how hard can you take it? And so he knew exactly how hard to swing the chair.
Like that one we had earlier.
Yeah. So
and not only that, but that might have actually been a practice shot picture instead of me doing it full force. I don't know. In that picture, I can't tell.
I just love how Jimmy's got a bucket on his head like an executioner style. Like you can't see this coming. No.
That actually looks more like a scene from a Mel Brooks movie where he's all like, "Oh,
yeah."
So
I can still keep going."
We would do stuff, Jim. We'd know it hurt, but it wouldn't kill him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He took the chair shots. The chair shots had to be. There's no way to tap him with the chair. We knew he had to get hit because we had to hear the sound. The big thing to us is there was
live
no
on
video
air.
We had to hear it.
At the same time, like any given day, I would have let Jim hit me with the chair as long as there was time that I could show him how to hit me with the chair, and he was able to execute it right.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we were talking about the bottle rocket incident. This is actually this is the original article they wrote after it happened. This is actually on the Illinois Times website.
Yeah.
And it's the full article. It talks all about it.
Oh, and it talks about me like I wasn't even there.
No.
It makes it, and I think that article claims that I somehow I had nothing to do with any of it. And yet I get blamed in that. So yeah, but he ended up having an argument with QLZ, like a legal battle. And then we were told that we couldn't have Jim on the show. And I'm like, what?
Hold on.
They said, you can't have Jim on the show.
What did you say?
And so we ended up having, Big D says he's got the video of the chair shot.
I'm actually talking to him right now. See if we can't send some of those over.
Yeah,
he's got a video.
You know he does. You know he probably does. Yeah.
Oh, he was always.
Big D would show up and do video all the time of those shows.
Oh, that's awesome! If he actually has a video of that,
I
don't think I've ever seen a video of that.
I'll see if he can send it over and then we'll play it. So this is also back when he was trying to. This is right before he left QLZ, or like you're getting into. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was just it was crazy. I mean,
so is that firework?
It really ended up being a legal battle between
Dave.
Jim and it's ended up being a legal battle between Jim and WQLZ. So,
Right. And this is what would start, the whole, this is when I came in because everybody was calling him he whose name we dare not speak or some random thing like that on the air, because QLZ wanted nothing to do with Jimmy for like the longest ass time because of it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So,
well, that was because of the Illiopolis incident.
Yeah,
wasn't
Jimmy
it?
also, you got to remember, Jimmy also got suspended during that Illiopolis thing, but that was for pot and being drunk, and he was on his loudspeaker saying, "Hey, girls, pull over and give me a BJ," and the cops arrested him. It was definitely a wild time. But so he was suspended for a year because of that.
wow.
A year? He got suspended because of that?
Well, because he got arrested. He got arrested after a Pickles gig. He was so high. He was so high that he told the police officer, the police officer gets him out of his ambulance. This is when he was driving an ambulance. And puts him in the police car.
Ambulance.
And then the cop says, you need your driver's license. And Jimmy goes, well, it's in the glove compartment. So the officer gets and goes into Jim's glove compartment, and he sees Jim's hitter box.
Oh, no.
He sees it next to his light. So then he goes back and he goes, Jim, why don't you get your own? Or he goes, why don't you get your own license? And Jim goes, Jesus Christ, I told you it's right in my neck. It's right next to the hitter box. You can get my license. And so then the cop got pissed off and he goes, all right. And then he found the hitter box and he arrested Jim.
Wow.
This was in 90, I want to say 98 or 99.
Before it was legal to have a little bit of weed on.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was not legal to have. You couldn't have any of it. And so Jim got arrested in Illiopolis
And
And
then
but
you
here's
even did
the
a
thing.
spit on it. The time
Here's the
traveler.
thing. They arrested him.
Yeah.
They arrested him, and I don't know if they charged it. They did something, but they had a year. They had a year to charge him, right?
Uh-huh.
Now we had a morals clause in our contracts, and the morals clause, you couldn't get a DUI, or you couldn't be found, you couldn't be arrested for anything, or the station did not have to pay you.
A morals clause.
Yeah, it's a morals clause, just so that
I get it. I know what they
people
are.
on the show, it's like you couldn't, like mine was, I couldn't cheat on my wife and end up going through a divorce, or all that stuff would be embarrassing to the radio station. So there was clauses in our contract that would prevent it. But the biggest thing was drinking and driving and drugs, and they didn't want anybody doing that. And so Jim got arrested for it. So the station, they suspended him without pay, right?
Right.
Okay.
Just
For a
that's
year.
what the contract said. You're suspended without pay until it's over, right?
Uh-huh.
So they suspended Jim without pay, waiting for him to get charged, and then eventually to go to court and wait for the punishment to come down. And they figured, well, after he pays whatever, we'll just let him back on. They never charged him. They waited a year. And then after they didn't charge him for a year, the charges went away.
Okay, so they played the system, waited a year.
They didn't do it. The county, was that Sangamon? I guess it's Sangamon County, but
If it was
Yeah.
Illinois, I think that would have been Sangamon. Yeah.
Sangamon County never officially charged him with anything, but he had the arrest on his record. So
Arrest on a record is one thing, but
it was within the morals clause. So he
All right,
could
guys, I
not-
got to leave for a few. If you guys are still on when I get back, I'll come back on.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he couldn't work. And that was, I know it was crazy, but yeah, he was off for a whole year.
all he had to do was
Wow.
go to the court system and be like, am I going to be charged with this? If not, give me something to dissolve this so I can go back to work.
Well, his lawyer told him,
The
what
same
you
way.
want is to never be charged. He's like, you don't want to be charged for this because it would have been jail time.
Well, yeah, but still at the same time, all I had to do was go to the court system.
I know, but so he never did. He never pushed the issue, and they never charged him. But once it went through a year, a county has 365 days to charge you.
Yes.
And then after
You're
the
right.
365 days are up, they couldn't charge him. And so he was then eligible to come back to work. So that's what happened. But that's where we found Marvin was in that time.
No, I think they've only got 60 days to charge you.
Whatever it was, I know that they
Well-
had to, maybe they charged him, but they never set the court date, and they never set whatever the next step was. So he
All right.
got off, and Jimmy never paid a dime.
All right.
paid-
Well,
He paid his bail to get out of jail, and that was it.
Can you imagine with the legalization of marijuana in Illinois? Can you imagine how big of a stoner he'd be now?
Oh, man, he loved
Can
it.
you? He would be celebrating.
he would be fucking
Oh,
so
He'd
happy.
be gone.
And he died.
He would.
He died in 2007, so he never got a chance to experience.
Yeah. By the way, these were just sent by Big D. These are pictures of, I believe, Jim and I think
That's Shaner.
Shaner. Yeah, with the bottle rocket.
Yep, that's Shaner.
Oh yeah.
Shaner was one of the ones who could light the bottle rocket. Shaner and Bodie.
Whoa! Oh shit!
Yeah. Yeah,
Why
can't show
did he
that.
slip that shit in? God damn it, Big D. We just got YouTube back. And I specifically said, let's not fuck up. So we no.
It was a brief moment. But I want to move on just a little bit.
Never opening from the Big D again. God damn it, D. Jack.
You should have had that scouted.
I thought I did. It was right. It was one of those last photos.
I know. But still,
I was just counting up there, and I was like, 1, 2.
You were waiting for it to pop up.
shit.
Yep.
That's Big D for you.
Uh,
But I want to move on a little bit because Ray, I need to ask you. I know this affected a lot of people a lot, and I hate bringing up losses of people, just like we just talked about with Jimmy. But our good friend Mikey.
Yeah. Mikey died of the same thing that killed my little brother. It was pancreas cancer.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was rough. It was rough. I mean, I'm not making it about me, but it was very rough to have that cancer kill both my brother and one of my best friends. And it was just terrible. And even now, it's hard to believe that, Mikey's not around anymore. But we've also lost RTQ. We lost RTQ. And
yeah,
then we lost Nikki.
Yeah.
And Nikki was a regular on the online Morning Disaster on this current show. So we've lost. I mean, it is sad how time goes by, how many people we've lost. Because it wasn't that long. I mean, the morning disaster on QLZ wasn't that long ago.
Like 20 years ago.
And it'll be next year. It'll be 20 years since it went off the air.
Yeah.
But that's really not that long if you think about it.
Yeah, it's not that long, and
by the way, people still remember it. It's crazy.
Oh yeah,
how many people still remember it?
And not only that, but I feel like it's been kept alive.
Thanks.
Because of Ray and what he's doing right now with this podcast.
Oh yeah. And because I call it the same thing, and that's what it is. I mean, it's just an extension of what that show was. And that's why I call it the Morning Disaster, because I don't want people thinking it's because it has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with serious stuff. It's just a bunch of dumb humor. It's literally just me, my buddy Steve, my buddy Christina, just having fun. And we're always poking shit at Steve and just laughing at the weird stuff. That's all the show is.
It is.
And I got to be a part of that podcast, the actual radio station back in the day. And I had a blast being on there.
Oh yeah. And it was, I loved whenever we'd have the wrestlers in, it was so much fun. Or when we did, like Mikey and I would get involved in matches and stuff.
Oh my God.
We had a lot of fun.
Mikey was involved with Tom Arson, and we kicked him out of the arena one time. Dude, at USA Sports Center out there on Brafferton Road. He got carried out of there.
Oh, we had a lot of fun. That was
it was so great. That was right around the time back in 2004, whenever I won the heavyweight championship for the first time.
Yeah, it was. I tell you, man, those were great. Those were great years. But yeah, losing Mikey sucked. It really did. And I wish that
it super sucked.
Christina goes, Dan does it. No, Dan, of course Dan counts. I was just mentioning me, you, and Steve, because we do the show more than anybody else.
I like Dan. Dan brings sarcasm to the show.
I like Dan, but Dan's on Wednesdays and Thursday nights.
Did I ever tell you, how when I come on your show every once in a while, I give Christina shit about smelling like fish, which everybody should know. I'm not mean to her. I'm just giving her shit. He wanted to kick my ass for the longest fucking time. And I had to message him and say, hey, I'm not doing this to be Dan, Psycho Dan, the Fire Dwarf. Oh. I was like, hey, I'm not doing this to be mean to her. You can literally ask her. If I hit too hard on my comments, I'll apologize. He goes, okay, just slow down on it. I'm like, okay, what can we do? And I'm going to regret this because you're going to call me up one day, Ray, and be like, hey, I need a bit right now. And he's like, I'm like, what can we do to where I can make fun of Christina all I want and you're satisfied? And he goes, wax my back and my ass. I'm like, okay, sold. So, yeah, and I've already bleached Steve's ass, so that's come out on this show too. So,
Yeah.
Steve didn't need him another ass bleaching, I'm sure. It's nice and brown back there.
Well, Christina cleans his house. She can take care of that.
I am not.
She bleaches everything else in there. I'm sure she can handle that.
That
No,
man.
and you know what? Dan gets mad at me all the time. I constantly put up with Dan. He'll bitch about me and make comments and stuff. But that's what he did back in the radio show when he was Psycho Dan. How the hell do you think we called him Psycho Dan? we didn't call him Nice Guy Dan. We called him Psycho Dan. But no, Dan's been part of the show forever.
Dan's been hilarious.
Like I said, he's on the show Wednesdays and then Thursday nights. He's on every week. So
thank you, Puddin.
Yeah.
Called what, Skeletor? Shut up.
But I was
Ray,
talking
we
about
apologize for Skeletor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
there.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I'm glad Skeletor moved over to our show.
How bad has he been? Well, I haven't seen everything, but how bad has this man been? This guy will drive us nuts.
He is. I don't know how you found him, but
he found us. I think. I forget how.
He's a trip. And the other thing now is Steve does that pot show, that Monday morning stoner show, and all those stoners from all over the country found it.
Oh no!
And now they come over and they'll come over and bother us. Well, there's guys from the East Coast, and I can't remember any of their names, but yeah, they're all wild. Every time they come in, they're so stoned they can't even,
Well, the oil rig down in Louisiana, they found us, and they are devoted listeners, and they wanted to figure out some other podcast.
Yeah.
And they did. And they came to you too.
Skeletor is funny. I will say that he's very funny.
He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
The stories he's told on the air, and the night he was asking about, because Kluge let it slip, he was on the other podcast, Ray Lyle's Born Disaster.
So that's how he found us.
Yeah, Skeletor was like, "What's this podcast? Where do I find it?" And I'm just like, "Do not send him to Ray. That man will drive Ray nuts."
So Kluge is who we blame.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, Kluge's gonna message in a minute. Fuck you, Tyler.
Fuck you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Fuck you,
one of the best shows we ever had was that show where Tyler bleached Steve's ass.
And I met Shelly and introduced myself.
That was one of my
Brent Knight. How
favorite
are you
all-time
doing?
shows. And then didn't we send Christina? Did Christina or Susan? Who was the one that was holding the camera for that?
That would have been Susan on that
Susan
one.
doing it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that poor dear.
Oh yeah, she had to sit there and watch all this. We got in the car and she goes, "You do not touch me at all until you shower for at least a full hour."
Oh my God, damn. Poor Steve.
Steve's ass. I'm gonna be honest. Steve needs to go see a doctor. There's something wrong with that ass. That's like a straight up baboon's ass. There's like purple for some reason. I'm like, why the hell is you got?
That's what I'm saying. That's why he needs more. He needs another. He needs another ass bleaching. I just want to help him out.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I think Steve should look into. I think Steve should take the admiration. Oh yeah. Thanks, Christina.
He was holding the camera when Tyler jerks.
Yeah. When I was washing his ass, his nuts.
Yes,
Thanks, Christina. I could have wait the rest of my fucking
Those were
life
two
without you
different
saying.
shows. That's right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
See, but this is what I was when I was talking about Steve.
Oh, it's scar tissue. Okay.
But I was talking about Steve. You know what I mean? He just does it. There's no. When I said, "Hey, we want to have Tyler come over and bleach your ass," he goes, "Okay." There was never any argument. We're gonna have Tyler come over and, wash your balls in the shower. He goes, "What?" He goes, "Okay." That's the same thing that Jimmy had. That's the same thing that Jimmy had going for him.
Hey, Joel.
Where
I am not gay. Shut up, Skeletor.
where they you know what I mean? They go, what's going to be best for the show? And that's what they decide. Where Marvin has this thing where what's going to be best for Marvin? Is it going to be best for Marvin to do this? No. So that's how I knew. But once you know that, you know how to handle all of them. So they're very different personalities, but once you know what their strengths are, you can utilize them.
Yeah.
You know, and Steve's strength is he doesn't have a filter. He has no filter, and he'll do anything. But also you've got to keep from, you can't tell him, hey, I want you to do this. If I know he can't do it, I don't want him trying to do something and being unable to. You know what I mean? So I know to stay away from that. Whereas Jimmy, you could actually get him to try something. You could get Jimmy to try something and he would at least try it. Where Steve, it's like, I'm not going to force him to do something where he falls and can't get up because of his walker and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so you have to understand. You have to understand the limits of the co-host.
Well, and I think that Steve could really benefit off of the same weight loss program that you've been going through. Because I mean, it works. I mean, obviously, look at the results. It's worked very well. And Steve is about what, 56, 57, somewhere around it. Is it upper 50s?
Yeah, he's 50. What are you, Steve? 56, 57?
I know he's
there.
Yeah, I know he's in the chat room.
And I do know that
1500 BC.
But at the same time, I'm thinner than Steve now, and I like it.
Yeah.
So I like Steve being fatter than me.
It
makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. So, you know,
how many times has Jim been arrested?
Jimmy was arrested. Jimmy was arrested a bunch, but he was never charged with it. You know what I mean? They never.
Yeah. Jimmy was never in prison.
Yeah.
No, he only did.
But he got arrested. He got arrested.
A little bit of jail.
Yeah, they put him in the jail, and then we'd get him out. We'd bail him out, and then that would be it. They never pressed charges and made him go to a court proceeding or anything like that. So, yeah.
By the way, I'm watching a clip that Big D just sent to make sure we don't get bashed again. But here's a trip down memory lane. I'll happily send this to you guys. Let me bring this up.
Oh shit! What is this?
The old disaster clip.
Yep, an old disaster clip.
Oh, there we go. Oh yeah.
Look at how young Sage was. How young he was.
Yeah.
This got to be 2004.
It's the same angle as with him with the bucket too. So this is back when he wet his hair. All right, here you go. If I can get the play. Oh, I gotta do this. Hang on. Because StreamYard wants to cover up the actual play button.
And there we go.
Shit. Just busted his ass.
No shit, man.
That's awesome. And you could see Spanky in that, and
yeah, you saw Spanky. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
Can you imagine if you had Steve Stanton and Jim?
Dude, that was a great. I would have loved to have had Steve Stanton on that show.
That show would have went nationwide. That show would have went nationwide. Big D says looks like 99.
No, that was in our new studio, which didn't open until 2002. So we were in the small studio till 2002.
Right.
So
that was in the
2003
brand new.
Yeah,
that was the fresh studio.
Yeah, that was the bigger studio. The smaller studio was a lot harder to work in.
Yeah, we couldn't have moved in that other studio.
Yeah.
Here's great memories though.
There's a Jim the photographer. I remember
that was at my going away party in August of 2005.
Yep.
Look how fat I am. Good Lord.
And look how thin you are now, man. It's like I said, it's been a journey, but it's definitely showing. Keep going.
My hair looks good in that one though. My hair was nice and dark.
Jim looks like a stunt double for Dr. Evil, I noticed.
Yeah. He looks like the guy who Harrison Ford. I remember in Indiana Jones, the guy whose face melted.
Oh yeah.
That's what he looks like. He looks like the
The
guy,
guy who had the emblem burned on his hand. Yeah.
I'll get you, Dr.
Ray-
Jones.
Ray, you look like Hawaiian in that.
I'm Mexican. I just look like, when I got fat, I looked more Polynesian.
Yeah, Polynesian. That's
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
And that's back when I had a convertible too. So I had
The darker skin.
I had convertible and my skin nice and dark. Now, I haven't spent a lot.
You don't have your
time
Sebring
outside.
anymore?
No, I don't. No, my last one got blown up in that tornado.
Oh, shit. The
Yeah.
06 tornado.
Yeah.
So what do you have now?
I have a Chrysler 300.
Oh, well, fuck. All right, moving on up.
I wish I had a convertible. I like my convertible. I'd rather have a cheapo convertible. The only place I go is I drive back and forth to work out every day. That's it. I don't go anywhere else. And I'm fine not going anywhere else.
See, Jen says her favorite Jim story was doing one of the Pickles gigs when he got the BJ from a girl. Then she was kissing it. Oh, God.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Jen.
Those were great. Those were great.
Oh,
Dude, I was at so many Pickles gigs. I loved the Pickles. The Rock and Roll Hardy's ones.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Dude, I showed up there with my
I was getting a breakfast biscuit and I was looking at that Rock and Roll Hardy show and I was like, damn, I wonder if they do any shows out here. I'd love to play out here again.
I do not want any more pictures from you, Big D. We do not need 2 shows so you taken off YouTube.
We were playing a gig in Bloomington and Jimmy hooked up with these 2 girls. And he unloaded in this girl's mouth. And then the next set, the girl starts making out with this guy on the dance floor.
Oh my God.
And it was so funny because everybody who was backstage saw what was going on and everybody, Jimmy and everybody, like, I remember our bass player looked over to me and he was pointing the guy and he was pointing the guy in the girl and he goes, we were on stage and it was just, and Big D was out there and Big D knew what was going on. And it was just, nobody said anything. But we all knew what was happening. And the guy was real. That guy was a real asshole.
Oh my God.
So he deserved it.
Yeah, he deserved it. Yeah, but those are good memories. Good memories.
Good memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been about.
I got one question more.
Go right ahead. Right ahead.
I gotta know, where in the fuck is Sean Belay?
Sean is he's living down in near Belleville.
He has liked this episode. If you go to the Facebook, he's liked it.
Shawnee's still around.
Yeah.
Shawnee's still around. He's in Springfield all the time. He swings by the house and he'll just come and hang out and bullshit. And he's always invited to the show, but he works at WSMI, so.
Also, he's back on the radio. Okay.
Yeah, so he's on the radio still. Poor bastard. Yeah. Sean, there's no bad blood between me and Sean, so he's still around.
Okay,
he did realize 90% of the shit you said about him on the radio, which if you go back and listen, holy fuck, how did that man not just like flip out one day and say F this and F that, and how did he keep his sanity?
Some of the funniest Sean stuff happened online. Sean was on Sean was on the show Breaking Curfew, and he was on the Chubby Ray show, and
Yep.
he's been on the Morning Disaster show a bunch. So Sean's always been someone, who's a part of this world.
Yeah, Sean. I thought Sean was always a good person and a good character.
Sean's a very good person. Yeah, and he was a great character. Sean was. I have nothing bad to say about Sean. He's fantastic, and it won't be long before I'm thinner than him.
Yep.
That would be true because I've seen pictures of him lately, and that dude's got a rockin' beer gut.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I'm waiting for him to give birth.
I
can't wait.
I think you take Steve and Sean and see which one weighs the most. I think Sean's got Steve.
Well, Sean's working out, trying to lose weight. So
no, I want to actually book them in a sumo match.
Maybe that could be a wrestling for a cure challenge.
I wish Steve could wrestle, but I don't think he could wrestle with a walker. But
no. But
I wish he could.
Yeah,
that would be fun to watch.
I think he'd make a good manager, like managing somebody like Mr. Fuji did back in the day with Yokozuna.
Well, the other thing with Steve is he can't hear.
Yeah, he can't.
Jason Kluge just did a message right there.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I forgot about this. I think this is on one of your clips, and I heard this one. And
the message parlor in Chicago and the limo incident are fantastic stories. I gotta put the limo incident back up on Daily Disaster.
I don't think I've ever heard the limo incident.
Yes, you do, because I remember that.
Yeah, that was when Shaner tried to break the Shawnometer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he got this girl. He got a girl to take care of Sean, and the girl tried to take care of Sean, and Sean couldn't do the act. So Joe, the limo driver, ended up
gonna get him some of that.
Joe, the limo driver, was gonna get me some of that, and he ended up doing the girl right in front of and on top of Sean.
God.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Daily
Disaster. That's funny.
Kluge says I have the audio on that. Massage.
And I'll put the massage parlor bit up too. Those are great bits.
No, yeah, those are great ones. The massage parlor, Skeletor. You need to subscribe. If you're going to start watching more Disaster, you need to subscribe to the guys on Patreon.
Yeah, do the $5 if you do the $5 a month, you get the Daily Disaster every day.
Yeah.
And it's just go to morningdisaster.net and you can sign up.
But if you do the $20 a month, you get all the archives.
Yeah.
You get everything.
You get old shows. You get 5 days a week of classic shows. You get all the live shows. You get everything for $20 a month.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's well worth it.
Yeah.
I actually need to probably subscribe.
Prescribe. Are you having a Steve moment? Because I've heard him say that before.
I just love it.
I'm a 6-time Hall of Famer. I should probably just have instant access, but at the same time, being the only superstar in Illinois besides Ray Lytle.
Yeah.
Joel has a scholarship. Joel, you get all the old shows. All the old shows.
Can I have a scholarship for all the old shows?
No, Joel has a subscription for all the old shows.
Big D, I got the photos. I can't show one. I'm not even gonna risk it. But in case you're wondering, here was where the lady was. Yeah, this is.
Oh, yeah, that's the girl.
Yeah, the other one I cannot show because it's funny, but
the sad thing about that is that girl's no longer with us.
Oh damn!
She died.
Son of a bitch!
She was decapitated.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I think I've heard about that.
Yep.
Now,
wait, what? Okay, I haven't heard this one. What the fuck is he talking about? A lasagna pan?
There's the story. Steve told the story Yeah, Big D. Yeah, that girl was decapitated. She was beheaded. They were driving. I don't know if it was after that gig or the next one. They were big fans of the Itchy Pickles. They would go to all the gigs.
Damn, that's
They were
heartbreaking.
driving home one night and they were really, really fucked up. And they hit something, and it went through and took off the top of the car and their heads.
That's heartbreaking, man.
Which was terrible. It was terrible. I remember when we were told, because the police came and talked to us about what had happened at the gig, and I said, nothing. I saw them. They were really nice girls. They came up and talked to us, and I didn't see them after the gig, because after the gigs we have closed backstage. We would allow people in between sets, but after the gig we just close it down. So I'm like, I never saw them after the gig, so I don't know what their state was when they left. But yeah, they hit, and I don't know if it was a fence or it was something, and there was
according to Big D, it was a truck.
Was it a truck? Yeah, but I know it took off the top of their car and their necks and their heads.
That's tragic.
Which was terrible.
That's tragic.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they were very, very nice girls. And I know that Jimmy was really upset because, he had a three-way with those girls. He loved them, so.
Yeah. I understand that.
They drove.
Of course, you loved them.
Oh shit, yeah. But they were really drunk, and I think one of them. I think one was a mother or something.
Oh damn!
I can't. Yeah, and Big D said they had great tits, but yes, they had very nice breasts, if I remember correctly.
I know one of my friends from college, Chloe. She went to one of your gigs once in 2004. She was a hardcore lesbian. She loved the song "Lesbian Rocker." I used to play it all the time because she was like, "That's me. That's me." He's singing about me.
A lot of lesbians love that song.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Obviously now she's married with a wife down in Florida, but she said going to one of your parties, it's like a game of Pac-Man. You're going to have fun, but if Jim the photographer catches up with you, you're in trouble, and that's when you go for the door. And she said there were women who would actively seek Jimmy out.
Oh yeah. And
she said,
well, you got to remember, like I didn't, like if somebody went backstage to meet me, I never hooked up with anybody.
Right.
I didn't do that. And the same with the other guys in the band. Like none of the guys in the band would ever hook up with any fans, but Jimmy was back there and Jimmy would hook up, or Big D was back there and Big D wouldn't hook up, but he'd take pictures. Like any sexy women that would show up, Big D would be like, "Hey, you want to take a picture?" And they'd always go with him and he'd take their pictures. And so there was lots of fun. It was just, I was never someone who, I wouldn't have sex with any of them or do any of that stuff. But like I said, Jimmy was there, Big D was there. There were plenty of guys that would have fun. Shaner would always hook up with him when he went to, there's a lot of that stuff going on. But
yeah,
those were great. Those are great times, great memories.
So I have one last question to ask you.
Thank you.
Then I have another.
All right.
You get yours out of the way. Go ahead, because I'm going to ask you about the Battle of the Podcast contest.
Okay. I just want to ask you if you would ever consider doing one more live performance and getting your band back together to make a greatest hits compilation CD type deal.
I'm actually right now.
Holy shit.
I started practicing again.
Oh.
Because in 2025 in 25, I am getting a new band, and I'm planning on going back out again. So yeah, in 2025, the plan is, as the weight loss continues and as my knees get better, I'm planning on playing next year. So that's already on the cards. I'm just trying to find the right band. Like, I don't know if I can. All the guys in the Itchy Pickles are not all available right now, so I don't know how many are gonna come with me. So I'm definitely gonna. Ray Lytle and the Pickles are gonna be out again in 2025. So I'm definitely going back out again. And I have those master recordings somewhere. So but the guy that I wrote songs with is a guy named Jamie Robertson, who was my guitarist. That's the only guy that I like to write with, because Jamie has that ability. Like I can go to Jamie and say, hey, so the song goes la 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 la, and then I go and then Jamie could go, okay, and he has that ability to go, all right, and he could play it. He could play whatever I sing.
Oh, nice.
So, but I write songs. I don't have a piano here, but I usually write with just chords. I write with chords when I write songs. And then Jamie's the one who fills in all the guitar little pieces. And, or I'll write on my little guitar, I'll just write chords, because I don't play lead guitar. I just play rhythm guitar. So I prefer to write with Jamie. So I don't know if I'll write any new music, but I'm definitely going to play. I'll definitely play the old songs again when I go back out in 25.
Yeah.
So yes.
Hell yeah. I'll definitely want to go to a show. That's for sure.
Yeah. And now the final question to Tyler.
Yes, because I know Ray's thinking, get me the fuck off this amateur podcast.
No, it's been great. No, I've had a blast. It's just been 2 hours. So.
Steve's wanting to know if you'll play Cheeto Dust. I don't think.
I definitely want to play Cheeto Dust. Cheeto Dust. Steve's got Cheeto Dust on his Peter. Yeah, I definitely want to do Cheeto Dust.
Yeah. So obviously we just had the Illinois Times Best Podcast voting, which, as much as I'd love for us to win, I think honestly it's going to be you. You've won it so many times, so many years. We had Opa Ghost on a while back, and they were even like, dude, nobody's ever going to dethrone that guy. Nobody's ever going to dethrone Ray Lytle. So clearly, we're just going to call it. We're going to say you win. Hey, congratulations, Best Podcast wins. But we are doing our own contest with the Best Damn Podcast. As you know, we get into Wrestling for a Cure when it comes to donations and whatnot. We raise money. All the money goes to St. Jude's. We are holding.
I want to check out Wrestling for a Cure. I'm gonna go next.
It's a great time. It really is. But we are doing two separate contests. One is for listeners in the chat room, and the other one is for podcasts themselves. Now, we've already had Notorious Escapades and Opa Ghost have said yes, they are in on this, but would Morning Disaster be willing to have a link? We would send you a link, and we could teach Christina to do it because she's your brand manager, and she'd probably be the one to handle this. It's a link where your listeners can go and they can donate to Wrestling for a Cure.
Oh yeah.
It won't cost you. It won't cost you guys a thing. All you gotta do is just like pop it on your show every once in a while. And the podcast that raises the most money this year for Wrestling for a Cure, we're going to make a custom title belt. And that is that podcast's belt for that year. That is theirs. They can keep it. Cool. We'll make a new one next year if this gets really popular. And then for the chat room, the person who donates the most out of all the shows will get a custom title belt, being king of the chat rooms for the Battle of the Podcast. As owner of Morning Disaster, do you think this is something Morning Disaster would like to be a part of?
Yeah, well, get with Christina. Yeah, I mean, I
will certainly get with Christina.
I'm cool with it, and I'm sure Christina can make it happen. I mean, Christina is the brand manager, but
yes,
yeah, I would be cool with that.
Every time I try and get in touch with you guys or something like that, I always go through her first because it's like
she's the one to go through.
Yeah. So,
but no, it sounds awesome to me.
All right, so there you go. There you go, everybody. Morning Disaster is definitely on board with the Battle of the Podcasts,
absolutely.
And we'll get them on board with the chat room.
There's a bunch. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts that would do that. You know what I mean? I think because I know the ones that were nominated were what? Ope the Ghost,
Ope the Ghost, You and Us,
Download
K-pop
on
Kimchi,
DP,
Download on DP,
K-pop Kimchi.
which K-pop Kimchi, they don't like us for some reason because we're in the Central area, and they were like, "We got to pass on this one." I'm like,
Aren't they? They're from Chicago, right?
"They're from Chicago,
yeah.
but
I think they do the show in Chicago.
yeah,
So I don't know how it's a local podcast, but
I don't know either. I think but most of the other podcasts that were nominated are local. Like there is the Notorious Escapades. We had her on first, and then obviously Opa Ghost. We're working on Night Terrors to get them on as well, and a few others. But
there's a lot of great podcasts in this area. I mean, there's
oh yes, there is.
I mean, the guys there's guys doing it on 217 Problems. I think they've got a podcast.
They actually, I think, just ended it.
Oh, they just ended. And then I know like McFarland has a podcast. They've got the Front Row. What is it called?
Front Row Vinyl, I think, or something like that.
And I can't remember the name of it, but they've got some podcasts too. They did a great podcast for the Ted Lasso show, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
And they have a Disney podcast that's really good, and so and I'll tell you, the other one is the PBS station has podcast. The NPR station, sorry, not the PBS, but the NPR station has podcasts too that are really good.
Yeah, and, but we're trying to get those guys on here too as well. I think they're the next ones. Is the Final Memory.
Mike and Molson have a podcast.
Yeah, we're working on Mike and Molson as well. Yeah. We've talked. They're just in the middle of moving, and they're going to let us know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just trying to get all these other local podcasts. Get some.
There's a lot of good podcasts. But no, I would be interested. Yeah, just get with Christina. She could put the link up on our Facebook page. Yeah, on the Morning Disaster Facebook page, and people can click on that. That's where we put to vote for us on the Illinois Times thing was on that page.
Can you imagine Ray walking in to do a show? He's down like 200 pounds. He's got his title belt on. He won that. It's got his symbol, Morning Disaster symbol.
No, the best belt was back when we were on channel 23. We were on channel 23, and I was the cruiserweight champion of the world. Did you guys ever see any of those?
Oh, the NWO. Yeah.
The DWO.
DWO, that's what it was. Yeah.
DWO events and or TV show, and I became the cruiserweight champion, and they were trying to weigh me, and we wouldn't let the doctor weigh me, and then I had my my goons beat up the doctors and get him to sign an affidavit saying that I weighed 199 pounds.
Wasn't it 199 kilos?
I can't remember what it was, but yeah, we did it. If you're a subscriber,
it was felonious.
They're up on the podcast.
Yeah, it was some bullshit.
Was also at one point, and I know
100% legit.
There was also at one point on your YouTube page, I know I said we got here, but I got to bring this up because it's still talked about this day. You had video of Jim's van getting smashed by Shader and Bodine. That I would love. I've only heard bits and pieces of that episode. Can you at some point find that and post that online for a class?
Oh yeah, that's on the YouTube page. I'll post that back up again. Yeah,
that is like literally you've heard everything. By the way,
I have like 10 tapes of stuff that I still got to convert. At some point, I've got to convert stuff and still make video available. Plus, Big D has tons of video.
Oh yeah.
So I'd love to show all of Big D's videos to our Patreon subscribers at some point because those videos are great. And you can get away with putting stuff. By the way, you could put nudie stuff on Patreon. So I could put that up for, you know what I mean? Because some of his videos have tits in them, so you can't put it on YouTube, but I could put it up on Patreon. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? Just one
Yeah.
more quick one.
Go ahead.
How pissed was Jim when his van got smashed?
Oh, he would get pissed at Shaner though. He would get pissed at Shaner.
Because
I was lucky because I never took the brunt of that, but he would get so angry at Shaner. And then it would cost Shaner. Shaner would always, when Shaner would do that, he would always have to give Jim something.
oh,
You know what I mean? It's like, well, because Jimmy would go, what am I going to drive now? Shaner goes, okay, well, I'm going to give you this car instead. So,
because they smashed that car, and then at some point they used like a crane.
yeah, they
to
lifted it.
smash that, and
They got a crane to lift it like 200 feet in the air, and they dropped it.
all because he owed Shaner money.
Yeah, it was because he owed Shaner money.
And for the longest time after that, after all that, if you go back and listen to More Disaster and obviously subscribe, and you'll hear all this. Every once in a while, when you hear Shaner has got a tow truck next to your car, you can hear somebody start sweating, like it happened to Sean once. Shaner came in and said, "Sean, you're behind. I'm taking your car." And you hear a lamb go, "Why is there a tow truck next to Sean's car?" And you hear Sean, "Can I get my stuff out of there first? I got a feeling I won't ever get it back."
All the time.
All the
Yeah,
time.
but at the same time, he couldn't have owed the value of the vehicle compared to what he owed.
Oh, Jimmy owed Shane. Jimmy died owing Shaner thousands of dollars.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he owed
Holy
Shaner
shit.
thousands of dollars that he never paid. And then he
I
died.
really wish
Shaner never got his money.
we could have actually saved the ambulance.
Was that ambulance really worth saving? Everything
I
that
don't know
happened
who's
in
got.
that-
I don't know who's got the ambulance now. I have no idea. I know that they have.
It's
You know what
probably
they've got
crushed.
is. You know what they've got is the hearse. Because he
They've
had
got
that hearse.
his-
Jimmy had that hearse in 96 and 97. And Brandy Kristen owns that now.
Brandy Kristen. Okay.
From the Brandy
girl-
Kristen band. She owns Jimmy's old hearse. And she uses it for
Okay.
Halloween stuff. So yeah, she's got a business there on Stevenson called Unique Enchantments. And she owns
Okay.
that hearse. So
Okay, she also has that band that Brian Ely's in.
yeah. And Tony, the old bass player of the Pickles, is in that band too. So
Right. Jason says he's also got audio of the Camaro. How many cars did Jim had that got smashed?
boy, I think
Corey
at least
Hale
4.
just says, so that's a hearse on Stevenson.
Yeah, and she'll put the hearse out sometimes right in front of her shop. So when you drive by, you'll see it. That's the old QLZ hearse that Jimmy had. That's that hearse.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
So there you go.
It'd be super cool if we could just get that hearse back for not get it back, but just like have it.
I think Brandy rents it out. I think she rents it out for Halloween to people, and they rent it off her to put in their front yards and stuff. But yeah, so I think she's got it rented from the middle of October through the end or something. And then somebody rents it for Christmas too, I think so.
Wow. Well, then it says then it says Merry Christmas, like a hearse you can rent.
Well, who knows? There's a lot of
Yeah.
weird people out there.
There is. So
It'd be cool if we could do something with it one day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Well,
memory.
this show has gone on a while. I know Ray's probably sitting there thinking, I'm ready to go. Like,
No, Ray's all Ray's got to do is go to the bathroom.
Tyler's got to go to the bathroom too.
I gotta
so
take
Still 21 viewers up in this bitch.
It's been steady at almost 30.
That's all. It was fun, guys. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
It really was.
By the way, Tyler knows this. I've said it before, and I haven't said it to Sage or Jason or Will Hyde or anybody that's on the show. But you guys are always welcome. If you guys ever wanted to join the Morning Disaster Network, we'd put you on. We put you on one of those slots. Just say the word. You guys are always welcome.
I'd I'd be afraid to disrupt what you got because you guys got a stellar cast now, stellar crew. You got Steve,
Yeah.
you got Christina, Dan, Kluge, yourself.
We
Put
enjoy it.
in. I might come on as a guest appearance, but I wouldn't want to upset.
Well, I would
the
love to
guys,
have
so.
you. I would love to have you either bleach or wax Steve's ass.
Well, we'll talk about that.
With
maybe
that,
get Tyler Cooley over. By the way,
Ray, I'd be okay coming on anytime.
Awesome.
But I'm not doing anything close to what Tyler would do.
Thanks,
But I would
Christina.
love-
I couldn't
We
win
want
my
Tyler
whole
to
life
wax-
without you saying that.
No, here's what we want you to do. We want Tyler to wax. We want Tyler to wax Steve's ass and his taint.
How about waxing his taint? No.
And his fupa. We need his fupa wax, so get all his pubic hair off. We want
I love how this
Tyler to
went from,
wax him.
I love how this went from me
Okay.
going to waxing Dan's ass to now I got to wax Steve. No, I thought
Oh,
you
God.
pay me for this shit.
Here's
Didn't
what
you
I-
agree- Didn't you agree to wax Dan's back too?
Yeah, I did, but that's a different story because that's not Steve's fupa or dick or ass.
No, but
Here's
you guys were a lot of fun. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank
Here's
you.
what I just talked about a little bit ago, guys. With Will Height.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Just talk about the great job you did on 9/11 for our anniversary show. We did
Thanks,
not.
man.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
buddy.
So it's been an honor to have you, Central Illinois broadcasting legend. We'd love to have some of the other members of Morning Disaster.
Well,
pop
anytime,
on.
you know that, and you whenever, just ask them.
Yeah,
Everybody on my show, they're pretty cool. Just ask. I'm sure Christina and Dan would come on, and you know Steve would come on and answer questions.
oh yeah.
So yeah,
We know we said when we started the show a while back, we know we weren't going to compete with Morning Disaster, and we've stood firm with that. Good to have you on. Good to have you with the Battle of Podcast. We love your show. Keep up the amazing work, Ray. It's doing
well,
great.
good luck. Good luck to you guys. If I don't win it, my wish would be for you guys to win it.
And good luck to you too.
I
Good
know
luck.
nothing about. I don't know anything about download on DP or Ope the Ghost. I just don't. I don't know anything about those shows. I'm sure they're good, but on except for K-pop, that K-pop, I don't know anything about.
El Toro.
And Ray, one day I would love to come on there as a guest. We'll just figure that out. So.
Maybe one day we'll have Sage on to give Steve chair shots. Who knows?
Oh, God.
maybe
the
one day
murder
that
of Steve Stanton.
I'm always down for that. You know me.
By the way,
happens.
Derek
Thanks, you guys. It's been
Derek
awesome.
Moody's in the chat room. He says, "Hey, cheers, old friend."
Oh,
So
Derek Moody. What's up, Derek? How you doing, buddy?
we
Yeah.
interviewed him a while back. So
What's up,
all right,
buddy?
if you want to subscribe to Morning,
Stone. Go to morningdisaster.net if you want to
There you go.
subscribe.
all right, so there you go. Subscribe to morningdisaster.net. That's where you can get
I think I'm
every
going to subscribe.
$5 get
You
you
should.
started. You can do the max 20 like I do. You can also go on YouTube to watch the free shows for all of you. What Ray calls this, what Ray says, freeloaders.
Yeah, go to
Right.
and we're going to be starting up on TikTok we're starting on TikTok in a couple weeks or so.
Oh, congratulations! We've been
Nice.
working on that in a while. That's hard to get. I've been trying to get on that one. So, all right, guys, you can
I've got a
catch
TikTok.
you can catch Morning Disaster every morning from 8 to 9:30, Tuesday through Thursdays.
Thank you,
Subscribers
Ray.
get the special shows.
Thanks, Sage.
All right, we are out of here. Ray, thanks for coming on. The rest of y'all, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Best Damn Podcast. So long, everybody.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Ray.